Canada will recognize the Palestinian state, but Donald Trump is not happy about it. China is concerned about possible security risk of NVIDIA AI chip. And Hong Kong's economy grew by 3.1% in the second quarter. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said his country will recognize a Palestinian state in September, prompting criticism from U.S. President Donald Trump. Meanwhile, Australian Treasurer Jim Chalmers said it's a matter of when, not if, Canberra recognizes a Palestinian state. This as international scrutiny on the crisis in Gaza continues. Daniel Rao tells us more.
Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said his country will recognise a Palestinian state after two other G7 nations, France and the UK, also said they would recognise a Palestinian state.
Canada intends to recognise the state of Palestine at the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly in September 2025. This intention is predicated on the Palestinian Authority's commitment to much-needed reforms, including commitments by the Palestinian Authority's President Abbas to fundamentally reform its governance, to hold general elections in 2026 in which Hamas can play no part, and to demilitarize the Palestinian state.
Carney's announcement didn't sit well with US President Donald Trump. Trump said Ottawa's backing of Palestinian statehood means it will be difficult to make a trade deal with Canada. Canada and the US are working on negotiating a trade deal by August 1st. The date Trump is threatening to impose a 35% tariff on all Canadian goods not covered by the US-Mexico-Canada trade agreement. Meanwhile, Australian Treasurer Jim Chalmers said the treatment of hostages and any involvement of Hamas in a future Palestinian state remained major obstacles for Australia, but added Canberra would push for a two-state solution. Chalmers said it's a matter of when, not if, Australia recognises a Palestinian state, but he didn't want to put a time frame on it. Pressure to formally recognise Palestinian statehood has mounted since French President Emmanuel Macron announced his country will become the first major Western power to recognise a Palestinian state in September. Dan Rao, TV News.
The U.S. Senate has rejected an effort from Senator Bernie Sanders to block the sale of U.S. bombs and firearms to Israel. All of the votes for the resolutions came from Democrats, with all of President Donald Trump's fellow Republicans opposed. This as U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff will arrive in Israel on Thursday for talks on the situation in Gaza, as the Palestinian death toll surpasses 60,000 since the conflict with Israel broke out in early October 2023. Tracy Furness has more.
Struggle for survival continues in Gaza as streams of people carry bags of flour on their backs, return home via the Zekim crossing where aid is distributed. These are the lucky ones, as aid deliveries are becoming more limited due to ongoing fuel shortages, which is intensifying hunger and malnutrition in the region. At least 48 Palestinians were killed and dozens injured just hours before while waiting for food at the crossing. Several injured people could be seen being wheeled away on carts from an area where aid trucks had entered into Gaza City. Part of the hungry crowd seeking food amid Israel's ongoing military offensive and blockade. Displaced Palestinian and father of 6, Abu Mohammed, carries a 50-kilogram bag of flour on his shoulders. He said, "The situation is bad, but thank God I was able to get it. We bring food at risk of our own blood. There is death, shooting. The situation is extremely bad." A spokesman for the United Nations Secretary General said it was crucial for all crossings to remain open.
WHO reiterates that in order to scale up the delivery of aid in a manner that begins to meet people's tremendous needs, it is critical that all crossings must be open. A broad range of supplies, both humanitarian and commercial, be allowed to enter, aid movements inside Gaza be safeguarded and facilitated in a timely manner, and that humanitarians be allowed to do their jobs.
This as the World Health Organization says it has aided in the evacuation of 47 critically ill patients and 129 of their companions from Gaza this week. They left the territory for medical treatment abroad. Among them, 13 children left for Spain, 4 children for France, 6 for Norway and 18 for Jordan. Another 6 adults were also evacuated to some of those countries. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
China expressed concerns over potential security risks in NVIDIA's H20 artificial intelligence chip. The Cyberspace Administration of China said it was concerned by a U.S. proposal for advanced chips sold abroad to be equipped with tracking and positioning functions. It said it has summoned NVIDIA to a meeting to explain whether its H20 chips had any backdoor security risks, as it is worried that Chinese user data and privacy risks could be affected. The U.S. this month reversed an April ban on NVIDIA selling the H20 chips to China. U.S. President Donald Trump said he expects to have a very fair deal with China following the 2-day trade talks in Stockholm. Meanwhile, Trump announced the United States and South Korea have inked a trade agreement that will reduce import tariffs on most South Korean goods to 15%. He added South Korea would open its market to American cars and trucks without imposing duties on them. Danny Zhou has the story.
Lead negotiators from Beijing and Washington met for a third time in 3 months in a Swedish capital earlier this week. Both sides have agreed in principle to extend their 90-day tariff truce struck in mid-May, which is due to run out on August the 12th. After hearing reports from the U.S. negotiating team, Donald Trump told reporters that talks with China on a tariff deal were moving along well.
We're moving along with China. We're doing fine with China. I think it's going to work out very well. We're right in step. I think we're going to have a very fair deal with China.
State media outlet Xinhua said China is entirely sincere in trade consultations with the U.S. and expressed willingness to properly handle differences through dialogue and consultation and find a solution to the tariff issue. The Xinhua commentary added such dialogue must be conducted on an equal footing. It urged the U.S. to move in the same direction as China, turning the leaders' consensus and positive momentum from the talks into practical actions. In another development, Trump announced a full and complete trade deal with South Korea on Wednesday, with 15% U.S. tariffs, down from the previous 25%. Steel, aluminium, and copper from South Korea were left out in the new deal. In return, South Korea has agreed to invest $350 billion in American projects. It will purchase $100 billion of liquefied natural gas or other energy products from the U.S., along with an additional unspecified large sum of money. The number will be determined after Trump's bilateral meeting with South Korean President Lee Jae-myung within the next 2 weeks. Trump also announced that starting from Friday, India will be slapped with duties of 25% as a result of its purchases of Russian energy and military equipment. Meanwhile, the U.S. president signed executive orders to introduce a 40% tariff on Brazilian exports, bringing Brazil's total tariff to 50%. The White House also said it is suspending a de minimis exemption for packages valued at or under $800 to be shipped to the United States without tariffs. Under Trump's order, low-value packages from all countries and regions will now face all applicable duties starting on August the 29th. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
The U.S. Federal Reserve on Wednesday kept the target range for the federal funds rate unchanged at 4.25% to 4.5%, despite pressure and harsh criticism from the Trump administration. Hong Kong's banks kept interest rates unchanged. A statement by the Federal Open Market Committee, or FOMC, said recent indicators suggest growth of economic activity moderated in the first half of the year. The FOMC added the unemployment rate remains low and labor market conditions remain solid. Inflation remains somewhat elevated. The FOMC said it is strongly committed to returning inflation to its 2% target. The U.S. economy expanded at an annualized rate of 3% in the second quarter, compared with a contraction of 0.5% in the first quarter. Meanwhile, Hong Kong's economy grew by 3.1% in the second quarter of this year, year-on-year, according to the advanced estimates of the Census and Statistics Department. The 3.1% gross domestic product, or GDP, growth is slightly faster than the increase of 3% in the first quarter. Total exports of goods rose 11.5% year-on-year, accelerated further from the growth of 8.4% in the first quarter. Imports of goods grew by 12.7%. Exports of services rose further by 7.5%. A government spokesman says exports of services continue to expand notably thanks to strong growth in inbound tourism and financial and related business service activities amid a buoyant local stock market. On Hong Kong's retail scene, the value of total retail sales in June increased by 0.7% year-on-year. Professionally, it's estimated at $30.1 billion, but that's with a slightly slower growth rate than May. Online sales took up 8.5% of the total sales value. For the first time since January, the value of sales of jewelry, watches, and clocks and valuable gifts logged a surge, jumping by 6.8%. Children of non-local talent with dependent visas will have to fulfill a minimum 2-year stay requirement to be eligible for Hong Kong's subsidized higher education places. The policy change comes with a transitional period and will be fully implemented starting from the 2028-29 school year.
Currently, students who have secured dependent visas for the first time or received entry permits when they were under 18 years old are eligible to apply as local students for the 15,000 higher education program places funded by the University Grants Committee, or UGC. Now, changes will be on the way. The Education Bureau says since the implementation of various talent schemes, the visa applications for relevant dependents have increased significantly. The number of cases has quadrupled from about 205 years ago to over 1,000 this year. The Bureau said it has taken note of recent concerns that some of these students did not come to reside in Hong Kong but apply for government-subsidized places at UGC-funded institutions as local students, which can affect the opportunities of locals for university admission and the allocation of public funds. Taking reference to practices of the United Kingdom and Singapore, such application thresholds will be tightened. These students are required to prove that they have lived in Hong Kong for at least 2 years before their program begins when applying for first-year government-subsidized post-secondary programs via JUPAS. To become eligible, they must either be enrolled as a full-time student in a school for 2 years before the tertiary education program commences, or show that they have not been away from Hong Kong for more than 90 days. Or else they will pay tuition rates set for non-local students. The residency requirement will take full effect starting from the 2028-29 school year, with the 2027-28 academic year set as a transitional period.
And still ahead, the coroner's court rules that a taxi driver was killed unlawfully. The government said the name of space oil drug will be changed to Adomidate. The Golden Age Expo and Summit was launched at the Convention and Exhibition Center. Welcome back. The coroner's court ruled that a taxi driver was killed unlawfully after a jury entered a majority verdict of 4-1. This was the second time that the coroner's court found the driver's cause of death to be unlawful. The case dated back to 2012, when the 65-year-old taxi driver died a month after a police officer put him in a chokehold during an arrest. Samantha Lee has the details.
The tragedy stems from a fare dispute back in November 2012. The taxi driver Cheng Fai Wong allegedly assaulted a Japanese passenger at a toll booth at the Western Harbour crossing. Police officer Lam Wai Wing put his arm around Chen's neck and tried to pull him up to a police vehicle. After 1 month of hospitalization, Chen died from complications that arose from a cervical dislocation. Early in 2018, the coroner's court found the driver to have been unlawfully killed. The ruling was later quashed by the High Court in 2022, after the police constable involved applied for a judicial review. The case was returned to the coroner's court for a second inquest. Coroner Raymond Chow earlier guided the jury that they should consider whether the act of a chokehold by police officer Lam was intentional, illegal, and dangerous. The jury was given 5 options: unlawful killing, accident, misadventure, natural causes, or an open verdict. 5 jurors included 3 men and 2 women, reached a majority verdict of unlawful killing by 4-1 on Thursday afternoon. The inquest jury pointed out that there was misconduct on the part of the police officer, who posed a threat to the taxi driver's life during the arrest. They suggested installing surveillance cameras in police cars to ensure the safety of arrestees. 2 daughters of the deceased left the court without speaking to the press. However, in a later statement, they urged the Department of Justice to restart a criminal investigation. Following the ruling, Secretary for Security Chris Tang was asked by reporters if the constable involved is still serving in the force. Tang said he was. He then said the authorities would decide their next step after studying the judgment. He said it may be quite controversial to set up cameras in police cars, as arrestees may not want to be filmed. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
The government said the name of space oil drug will be changed to Atomidate. Speaking to the press this afternoon, Secretary for Security Chris Tang said the name Atomidate will replace space oil drug. Tang explained the name can illustrate the nature and harm of the drug to the public. Meanwhile, Tang said a total of 43,407 crime cases were recorded in the first half of this year, a drop of 4.2% compared with the same period of 2024. Hong Kong recorded a total of 8,142 cybersecurity incidents in the first half of the year, representing a year-on-year increase of nearly 50%. Summer Xiao reports.
In recent years, multiple public and private entities in Hong Kong have suffered data breaches due to cyber attacks. The Hong Kong Police Force Cybersecurity and Technology Crime Bureau claimed the primary threat was phishing attacks, involving over 28,000 phishing websites, a 47% increase compared to the same period last year. To tackle these cyber threats, the Digital Police Office has launched the CyberSec1 initiative in collaboration with HKIRC and HKCERT. One of the key focuses in the second half of 2025 is to enhance employees' anti-phishing awareness through simulated phishing email attack scenarios. Eamon Lai, the Chief Digital Officer of Hong Kong Productivity Council, explained the program will publish a vetted list of cybersecurity service providers helping small and medium enterprises overcome resource constraints in securing reliable cybersecurity support. The National Cybersecurity Awareness Week will be launched in September. The Digital Police Office will host a series of events, including competitions and forums, to raise cybersecurity awareness among the public. With Hong Kong set to co-host the National Games in November and the Logistic Council elections coming in December, authorities say the city's cybersecurity readiness is now of mission-critical significance. Summer Xiao, TVB News.
As for now, some 6,100 chikungunya fever cases have been recorded in neighboring Guangdong province. The Center for Health Protection noted that there is a high risk that the fever could be transmitted to Hong Kong. About 90% of the chikungunya fever cases have been reported in Foshan, where an anti-mosquito campaign will be held for a week. In Hong Kong, the Housing Department said it has stepped up mosquito prevention work in all public housing estates, such as inspecting public areas and flower beds, detecting breeding grounds, installing mosquito traps, and among others. Jaja and Dede, Hong Kong's locally born panda twins, will celebrate their first birthday on August 15th. To mark this special occasion, Hong Kong Post will issue a set of commemorative stamps featuring the adorable brother-sister duo. The commemorative stamp set contains 6 designs, capturing different stages of Jaja and Dede's growth, from 2 weeks old to 1 month, and finally to their public debut. The stamps are priced from $2.20 to $5.50. The issue also includes souvenir sheets and first day covers. Starting from August 15th, a commemorative postmark featuring the panda twins will be available at all post offices. Jaja and Dede are the first giant pandas bred in Hong Kong. The Golden Age Expo and Summit was launched at Wan Chai's Convention and Exhibition Center on Thursday. Members of the public can visit the 3-day event for free. Mimo Singai reports.
查天氣、展示日曆同提醒，
This is a smart robot assistant which can take care of home-alone elderly through several aspects, such as reminding them to eat and take medication at designated hours. The Hong Kong Polytechnic University took part in its research and development. After the system was launched last year, the university said they had provided a quota of 80 for senior citizens who suffered from mild cognitive impairment to use the tool without a subscription fee.
Technology can actually help out to support the older people to age at their own home. The environment should be well supported so that the older people can stay in their own home independently. They may face a lot of challenges. So I think the most important is this technology can actually support them with many measures.
The three-day expo features nearly 200 exhibitors showcasing products from 6 categories, including technology, medical service, and finance. A booth that helps residents aged 50 or above with employment helps companies can offer a more age-friendly work environment.
We also network different companies to provide their positions so that when the elder citizens or the golden age citizen can see them, we can do a referral system. We can do a referral by system so that they can apply for the suitable jobs. Some clerical jobs, also some part-time carer jobs.
Beauty and fashion are also important for the elderly. Here, elderly visitors can put on makeup, dress in cheongsam, and have their photo taken. Memos 9, TVB News.
At the recent World Artificial Intelligence Conference in Shanghai, the city issued its first batch of 8 licenses to companies to start commercializing driverless taxis or robo-taxis. With license in hand, one eager company began operations on Wednesday, even as Typhoon Koumei was sweeping through the city. One passenger said when booking the driverless taxi, it was actually the same as your normal taxi booking. And as for the ride itself, the passenger said the overall experience was smooth. He added that when the rain picked up, the vehicle slowed down accordingly, just as a human driver would. The vehicle is equipped with cameras and sensors along with radars. It can track the real-time movement trajectories of up to 500 pedestrians on the road. And that's the news. Thank you for watching.